If you're thinking about moving to Orlando, by now you've probably watched a couple neighborhood tour videos, maybe checked out niche.com or greatschools.org a couple times, but what about real people experience, the folks that actually made the move to Orlando? What do they have to say? I asked and I got several different answers, and today you're gonna hear 7 different answers across several different areas in Central Florida, detailing the good, the bad, and the ugly of their experience. This is going to be a video to watch if you're considering the move, as it might solidify or unsolidify your choice. And so let's first dive into where they moved from and where they moved to. Some moved from Delaware. We got some from San Francisco, Hialeah, Florida, Miami, Florida, Central Texas, which I'd assume to be around the Austin area, Houston, Texas, as well as up north. Probably the least descriptive one on the list for today, but hey, up north. The timeline for these moves occurred roughly within 3 years as well, so long enough to give a well-rounded opinion, but not too long to where they may have a detached sense of what the area is today. As far as where they ended up, several different areas. We got Audubon Park in the mix, downtown Orlando, then later Altamont Springs, we got Horizon West, we got Sunbridge, Lake Nona, just outside of Lake Nona in the Beacon Park, Meadow Woods area. What surprised them the most, good or bad, is exactly the way I asked it after moving to Orlando. And we got both good and bad responses to this. On the good side, and I was glad to see this quite a bit, is how welcoming and friendly, more friendly the folks are here compared to where they moved from. Downtown submission, they were surprised by the free valet, good parking, and inexpensive nightlife, if that's something that you're looking for. However, on the bad side, the flip side of that is a host of issues you should consider. Pretty common pattern had to do with food and just how much more expensive it is here according to the submissions than where they were coming from. And that's everything from your grocery options to restaurants. Publix is sort of the grocery store you'll see in most areas, and then of course Walmart is going to be in some as well, but we don't technically have a ton beyond that in most areas. You do have your outlier communities that will have Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Key Foods, or a Bravo, which is sort of our Caribbean style supermarkets here. And then you have like an Asian market off of Colonial. My advice is do that grocery run when you come on a visit. Do that grocery run in one of the grocery stores. See how that bill stacks up to your current bill where you're coming from. Really, the only outlier of saying we're much cheaper here was the submission from San Francisco. How about cost of living? Well, some of the stuff that I mentioned previously does transfer over, especially when it comes to the food, the groceries, restaurants, that thing. Another thing to consider, which a lot of people also said was more expensive in Orlando than the cities that they're coming from, are utilities and the use of tolls. Tolls was a very common theme, and it's a very necessary thing, I must say, if you are going to be driving a lot around the Orlando area. Some areas use it much less than others. I would say generally though, as somebody that drives quite a bit here, I need toll roads. It significantly cuts down my drive time getting across the different areas in Orlando. That can be easily over $100 a month for some people, even more for others, less for others. It really just depends on your typical commute patterns. You're not gonna maybe be like me that I'm driving to St. Cloud and then up to Sanford and then over into Horizon West on a frequent basis. You might just be making a regular trip to Disney or a regular trip to your job, and you use a toll road for that. And so you're able to calculate those things before moving, so you have a better idea. Because again, as these folks have said, it is something to consider and adds to your cost of living here. The other big expense, of course, would be housing. And folks, depending on where they were coming from, found it to be more expensive or less expensive or just about the same. If you are interested in seeing the real estate around these several different areas that these folks have moved to, that will be in the description below. Virtually every submission, even beyond the 7 I'm talking about right now, felt safe in the neighborhood that they chose, which I thought was awesome, except for one, which was the downtown Orlando submission. Eventually, they moved over into the Altamont Springs area as they began to feel less safe. Surveys from those in downtown have cited homelessness and safety as 2 primary concerns. I thought it was interesting to see a personal experience coincide with that statistic. Happy to see that most had a positive feedback on the school system. A lot of them found the teachers to be very engaging, the kids having a great time integrating into the school system. All of these 7 submissions, by the way, were in reference to public schools, the public school system here. So I think that's important to note. One of the outliers, though, was a negative thought on the schools, a negative experience on the schools. Zero homework, no books ever brought home. Submission also mentioned constant pre-testing to get them ready for state tests. And so what I'll say on the topic of schools is, one, it's very hyper-local. Two, it involves involvement. You have to be engaged. And three, do a ton of research. Go to the schools if you have to. I'm happy to provide any resources that I can from a statistical standpoint. I know a lot of you may look at niche.com or greatschools.org. I've often referenced the Florida Department of Education statistics. I'm happy to share that as well. You can see it's a mixed bag. Some have just shining praise for the school system here, while others have some disagreement with how they operate. As far as commuting and traffic goes, common patterns within the submissions had to do with I-4 being heavily disliked, as well as the use of tolls, having to use tolls to get around in a more efficient manner. But in order to save a lot of time, it does become a necessity. So going back to cost of living, please do make sure you add the cost of tolls within your budget calculation. Is there a strong sense of community in these neighborhoods, or are they just isolated? I had positive and negative answers to this one as well. On the positive side, people praised their neighborhoods, such as in Horizon West, for being incredibly community and family oriented. Tons of events, lots of things to do throughout the year, both from the school system and also just within the community. This is something I've also touched on in that Horizon West update video. Definitely a hallmark for that neighborhood. Others touched on local events and their local church as ways to find community. Another one said, strictly, there's no one outside. There is no sense of community where they're at. And so my take on this is community comes from participation, not just location. You're not just gonna be popped into any area of Orlando, no matter how friendly that person might be. If you don't engage with the community, more than likely the community is not going to engage with you in a meaningful way. That's not to say some areas don't make it a bit more available for you to do so, but certainly a lot of it is going to rest on how engaged you are in the community. But you can certainly find community across many different areas all across Central Florida, truly. The biggest commonality between all of the submissions has to do with the resources that they use to help them in their search in moving to Orlando. Some said Facebook, some said Reddit, but majority of them said they watched YouTube videos quite a bit to learn about the different areas, which you're doing right now. So I guess kudos on you. And then secondarily, a good real estate agent. So if you are looking to move to the Orlando area, thinking about purchasing a home here, I'd love to partner with you as your real estate agent of choice. Feel free to shoot me an email, info@orlandowithmario.com, or you can book a discovery session. Again, that's going to be in the description down below. Let me know down below if you'd like to see a part 2. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, stay safe.